Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from originally, and how you came to be to Rolla.
Yeah, well, I'm the fourth of 11 kids from South St. Louis City. Funny, growing up in the city with lots of brothers and sisters, my parents, I think, realized it was going to be very difficult to kind of figure out what to do with the kids over the weekend, just running from sports activities and everything else. So they bought property in Cook Station, Missouri. So from the time I was 10 until 18, we spent almost every weekend down at Cook Station. And we would come to Steelville, Salem, St. James, Rolla, to just experience those communities. So I've been very much a part of the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission, this area, for 50 plus years of my life. And so I think that was my first introduction to this region. Went to college at Rockhurst and got economics and political science degrees. Thought about being a lawyer, was accepted into SLU Law School, and decided to spend some time doing 6 months of volunteer work in a mission out in West Virginia. It was there that I encountered, one, some frustrations by the group that was hosting this mission with mineral rights, and they were always battling the attorneys who were representing the natural gas industry. So I thought, well, I don't want to be a lawyer if that's, you got to strip people of the value. But I was working in poverty. We were working on homes and in poverty, and so I got acquainted with housing and urban development, and I thought, well, okay, I'll pursue that avenue. So I got my master's, came back to St. Louis, got my master's at UMSL in public policy administration, and thought I was going to go to work for the Department of HUD. In the 1980s, that was kind of the worst reputation in agencies, and when you're 22 years old, 23 years old, you think big, and I was going to rise to the level of being the director of HUD and having influence in public policy and homelessness and low-income housing and all that. After graduate school, I did actually go to work for HUD. I was a budget analyst for 2 years in a trial program where they kind of exposed me to all the divisions. And I realized, although I really loved the experience, I realized that wasn't really motivating me and inspiring me. So during graduate school, I became acquainted with Maryland Heights, who had just incorporated in 1985. So I became an intern in Maryland Heights, and just a summer there. And that was my first real exposure to city management, working closely with their department level teams. And so from there, I became an assistant city administrator in Sullivan, Missouri. After about 2 years there, I became the city administrator there for another 6.5 years. Loved Sullivan. It was, again, a part of this Merrimack Regional Planning Commission, an area I'd been growing up since I was 10. And then the opportunity for a position in Rolla opened up. It was funny because I knew my predecessor was Merle Strauss, and former Mayor Elwin Wax was the mayor at the time, and I'd meet them at conferences, and they'd both say, "Oh, this other guy is driving me crazy. I wish you'd consider applying for this position." So as it turns out, I applied for it. Was very fortunate to have gotten it. I was probably 31, 32 years old at that time, a little overwhelmed, I think, in the idea of moving from Sullivan to Rolla, but realized pretty quickly Rolla was just a little bit bigger version of the community. And the community is sort of organic and is comparable whether you're a small town or you're a big city in a lot of ways. And so it's been a wonderful almost 28 and a half years in Rolla. So
I believe it. Coming to Rolla, did anything surprise you?
I think a couple things surprised me. Early on, when I first got here, I became a soccer coach. I love sports and have been coaching my kids forever. And I noted on the very first soccer team I had, the diversity of the kids on the team. In Sullivan, where we've been, everybody were sweet little white kids, and that was the world. There was no diversity in Sullivan at the time. I'm a St. Louis City kid, so I was used to a bit more diversity, but I was shocked to see this little group of soccer players, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And I mean, it was like the UN. It was fantastic. I remember telling my wife, I said, "This is incredible. Look at these kids, and they're just having a blast playing soccer." So the diversity for an outstate Missouri town caught me by surprise. I didn't anticipate that. I found out pretty quickly that Rolla is part of this ecosystem of collaboration. The university, of course, is such a prominent player in the community, but the Chamber of Commerce, the school district, Phelps Health, all these great institutions weren't working in silos. They were very much working together. And that was a pleasant surprise. There's a perception in city management, if you're working in a community that's the county seat or has a university, you could have some friction. You have these empires or these fiefdoms, and everybody operates in their silos. Well, that wasn't my experience from day one in Rolla. It was very much about what's good for the community is good for all those institutions and vice versa. And so that was a pleasant surprise for me.